Really? You check the other two. Make sure they're wired up good.
A lot of good they're doing.
How long can they keep this up? Forever.
We are down and disabled out on East 9. Anyone read me?
It's gonna be dark in about an hour.
There's something going on out here, and I don't like it.
Every 23rd spring.
What's it doing up there?
For 23 days.
I had a dream.
He was trying to warn all of us that this thing has been around for thousands of years. Nothing has been able to kill it.
It gets to eat.
There are two classes of people now.
What the will be eaten and the won't be eaten.
Welcome to day 23.
We thought it was trying to come in, but this frickin' thing was making sure we couldn't get out.
All you kids, get down! Go, go!
It isn't dead.
Looks dead to me.
Jeepers Creepers 2.
This is how every day starts. You wake up about an hour before call, and then you get ready to go again. Then we'll work tonight, about 12 or 13 hours, drive home, crash because of exhaustion. Wake up an hour before it's time to go again, and off you go again. We have shot 40 days so far, and this is our 41st day of shooting. That takes its toll on, I think, on everyone. One of the reasons why I said yes to this whole idea of you following me around for a day is people should see how hard this is. 13, 14-hour days with a million different dilemmas and questions and problems to deal with every day. It's hard work. Today we are shooting a piece of the middle act finale. The creeper gets part of his head damaged and can't fly right and crashes into the top of the bus. And one of his wings breaks through the bus and finds a replacement head for itself.
Wing! More smoke! Much more!
You'll see the wing crashing through the bus, the wing of the creeper. The wing wraps around Dante, and the kids try and pull him down as the wing tries to lift him up out of the bus, but Dante comes down without his head, which is probably the most graphic thing I've ever shot in one of my movies, so I have mixed feelings about it. We're in an airplane hangar in Long Beach. We have one whole hangar. On one half of it is the bus set. It's a constructed bus for interiors, and we've also constructed a forced perspective field and road that the bus is sitting on. Forced perspective means that it's full scale around the bus, but as it goes off into the distance, it gets smaller and smaller. Through the camera, it will look like the big field that we shot on location at Tejon Ranch. Also, in the same hangar is our green screen unit and insert unit. They're around the corner from us, shooting all the effect shots that need to be shot against a green screen because they need to be composited into some other shot. A lot of flying creeper stuff is being done there. I'm sure that we'll see some of that today when we go visit. The hangar basically houses catering, shooting, green screen. The special makeup effects lab is in there. Special physical effects is there. It's kind of like a gigantic sound stage.
And we roll sound.
And action.
Door open. Now's our chance.
We're now heading over to the part of the hangar where the set is built, as we are going on to set. Am I mic'd properly?
Oh, God.
I did it myself.
Oh, okay. It looks great. Let me put a little piece of tape. Hang on.
This is our bus set. It's not a real bus. It's built slightly larger and taller. And we're using it for all the drama inside the bus that looks out the windows. There's our forced perspective field that matches what the actual road and bus we shot in Tejon. We just found out one of our actresses has been in a car accident, but they haven't been hurt. But they are going to be late. But she's not in the first shot, and she's okay. These two monitors down here, the big ones, are a camera, which is up there on the bus right now. And the smaller monitor up top is the green screen over yonder. So we can keep an eye on what green screen's doing.
We are going to be turning you like this.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is you're going to have your ankle that you can brace off of and turn yourself.
Okay.
To be able to control your body from the back of from where your ankle is. Okay. So all you're going to do is turn and arch your body. We will then spin you into the shot.
I see.
All right, Kimball, you're yanking it. Here you go.
Kimball! Won't open!
Now, actually, we found out that Double D actually gets the first one there before any of you guys. He goes, tries.
If I go wider, starting down on this, I mean, you either want to go tighter to start down on it and go up to him, but then you want to get all the kids.
Yeah.
Or we go wider and we hold it and the kids and just do a nice, like, you know.
Let's do that.
Frame.
Let's do that.
Okay, so Mike, let's put on a 40. Okay?
So the majority of time on a set is spent waiting, and usually waiting for lighting, which may not on the outside seem like something very important, but the reason movies look so good, the reason that movies look better than life actually looks, is because the light is completely controlled. And action!
Kimball! It won't open!
Stop pushing on them! They open in! Something got screwed up!
Is that rear door open?
Cut. All right, that was a little different. So Eric, I thought you were going to go right to the... Aren't you going to go over to the doors and not do the handle, or yes or no?
Yeah, we were going to try both of us going to the well. Because him banging up against the door like this doesn't do much.
Well, what did you do in the master? That's what we're matching. The sound people have figured out a way to let me talk to the kids on the bus without screaming, and since it's kind of a tight quarters in there, since I can't sit in there, I have a button and a mic. It's got a speaker right inside the bus so I can direct without shouting or using a bullhorn. Okay, you guys on action, Eric's line, and then come in so I get your stuff clear. Right now it's a little too congested in there. Look at this creeper.
Action!
Would you tell green screen something for me? Shouldn't the knife be over the head and straight down stroke?
And action! And cut. Cut.
Just cut.
So when I find the bolt in the back, are you going to hold the bolt up and then be thinking as I walk back?
No, you're going to be sitting actually.
Okay.
You find the bolt off the ground and you pick it up.
Right.
You're sitting in a side chair while they're trying to kick this door open, and you go, wait a minute. So you're looking at the bolt. What if he blah, 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 blah. Then you turn and look back at the hump.
Because they went pretty deep in the second time, and I don't think they established me at all back here.
You're going to be right about where Dice is.
Okay.
Coming through, guys, make a hole!
Right, so we know that the cloth in the crack does not match anything, right?
We're gonna
we know
fix
that?
it. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna fix it, don't you worry.
Then there's going to be a lot of Fuller's Earth and a lot of rocking coming down, and we're going to cut. Here's what we're seeing. Here's what we're trying to match.
So
When you see a little black along there, but nothing hanging down, it's just... Right, a little black line. Okay, you guys, my actors, I'd like you to get your head in the game right now because I want this to work. Remember, Izzy, you're driving. Pull it down and keep it quiet and scary.
Roll sound.
And action.
How can both fucking doors not fucking work? Holy shit.
We jammed it. We thought it was trying to come in. This frickin' thing was making sure we couldn't get out.
And metal sound. And rocking. Rocking and earth. Rocking and earth. And cut.
Good.
Camera. We have our first print. Let's get one more. Very nice. Tell green screen that's starting to look like something.
You're welcome.
And action. And look. Ah! And dive. And cut. Cut. Nice now. And action. Wait a minute, how'd the bolt get over there now? Can't we put it in the middle of the frame or something? It's got to be in the light, sweetie. In the light.
No, on the other side of your foot.
In between your two.
Put it on your mark. See where the light is? Matching everything is one of the hardest parts of shooting a movie. For instance, this scene is being shot over 5 different days, so there's all kinds of things that you're trying to match and figure out how these angles are going to cut together and what you need to see and what you don't.
Action. How can both fucking doors not fucking work? Holy shit.
We jammed it. We thought it was trying to come in. This frickin' thing was making sure we couldn't get out. Break the fucking doors.
Good. I got a bash.
Turn all the fans off.
Okay. Where should we stand?
Shot it like this through the open hole right now. You can only get a few heads on this side and a few back. Okay, kids, here's the Megillah. Everybody on the front side of the bus, go to the front of the bus. At the top of the shot, it'll be 3, 2, 1, rock, and they'll shoot smoke down. The wing is dropping. Then you'll take your own cue off coming back and stepping up to it. Here we go, kids, camera rehearsal. Dusty, tell me when you're ready. On the day, we will have smoke and rocking. I want to show you guys this rehearsal before we shoot because there's something really cool we're not getting anymore. Did you tape that rehearsal, Jimmy? Can we see it, please? 3, 2, 1, wing! More smoke, much more! Take a long time and look up at the ceiling. You haven't seen the bump yet, but you were bombed from above. Look up. I think we need a whole little scene going on back there. A whole little scene going on back there. Exactly. And the scene is, first, hey, these doors can be pried. What can we pry it with? Running around looking for something back there. You and anybody else. Finding the javelin thing, going over there, trying to pry it open. Hey, this thing can be pried open. You trying to pry it, other people coming down helping you.
Hey, we can pry this thing open. Give me something. Something metal, big. Yeah, that'll work.
All the while, there has to be a reason why Kimball says, hey, everybody, come on, this is going to be the way out. Everybody, let's go, come on. There has to be a reason for that, and I think that's going to be the reason.
Come on, D. Everybody, this side. I'm not touching that thing. This is the way out. You just gonna sit back there and wait for the Red Cross? Get your ass over here. Now. Come on, man. Show like you got a pair. Fuck you. Come on, Chelsea. Come on.
That seems like a fucking shower curtain, man. Come on, let's go. Anybody?
Shower curtain? This thing's like a fucking piece of toilet paper.
And cut.
Good. Good.
Loading the kid into the bus. I think we need a couple.
Hey, you. This is the director's trailer. We eat and we watch dailies, which are really stuff we've shot probably 2 or 3 days ago because we can't get dailies the next day, hence the term dailies. Our dailies are on high definition fire wires. That's one of them there being unpacked and hooked up to the computer. It's not quite as good as filmed dailies where you'd see them on the big screen, but it's the next best thing that I've ever seen. I want the wing to rip Al's shirt and jacket off so when he comes down it doesn't look like we're faking it with, oh, there's a shirt with no, there's a dummy with no head. I want his real body to hit the ground and be reaching around and stuff. So I think it'll be 3, 2, 1. Action will be the wing ripping, just coming down and wrapping around him. And you guys are pretty close to this thing, so you guys are going to be up close and just, you probably back everybody into the wall, basically, trying to get away from it. Okay, let's just pretend the stuntman is there. Suddenly, wrap around it goes. Everybody flies back. And now, Izzy, how the hell are you going to get through all those people to get up here? You love Dante, don't you? Here you go. Come on through, kids. Grab your man. Try and pull him down. Am I going with them? I don't think so, because I got to get Johnny Young behind you. It's cramped on here, isn't it? Incredibly small space that on the big screen will look like a huge cathedral, but you can see the tiny space that we're working in and trying to light. Oh yeah, I don't care if his legs are exposed. I'm just wondering how we're going to wrap this wing really tight around him. That's as high up as he'll get. Tell green screen, Rye. Tell green screen that I am loving this angle. It's fantastic.
Okay, and action. We'll fix it. Okay.
I think that's the front, and then the back, which is what we're going to shoot first, we find some way to stretch that cloth around him, okay, that fabric.
Yeah, we can,
all right, that's better, guys. That's much better. Are you ready for dilemma number 225,000?
I'm always ready for dilemma.
The wing, which we got to form fit, they have only one. They're certain that if the boys pull on it, or if we even pull him halfway up through that hole, it will be torn to shreds. So how am I supposed to shoot multiple angles and multiple takes of this thing?
Make the hole much wider. Frame the hole out. Matter of fact, take one piece of that crap off so they don't have any chance of fucking it up.
If it's not in frame, absolutely. Good thought. Mark, you need to have lots of dust falling down during this struggle. You guys, it'll be 3, 2, 1 wrap. Don't forget I have to say go get him because that's the cue for all the stunts and effects people to jump on the. So don't come at him until I say go get him. And 3, 2, 1, wrap! Go get him! Cut!
Cut!
So you guys were just cheating it around the back because that's the camera side? Am I understanding that correctly? If you were, that's
now
okay.
I'm getting confused. Yeah, just recently.
We wanted to show cover.
Yeah, that's what we were just doing.
And continue doing it.
Continue to cheat.
Marker.
Set.
And 3, 2, 1, rock! Look at it! Play! So do we have any dust coming down at all in that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're blocking it off.
Well, why don't you drop it on the camera side? Because we didn't see any of it.
Make sure the door is closed. Let's roll sound.
And 3, 2, 1, wrap! Go get him! Cut!
Cut.
Play back.
Donnie, I got into one window.
I saw.
Bring the knife up. All the way up. Build up higher.
I haven't visited green screen today. Green screen's getting incredible stuff, and we are getting closer and closer to the big scene that we have left on the bus. We're so sick of that bus. We're sick of the real buses we had to shoot on, which is even worse than this one, and we're sick of this one, which is even built bigger to accommodate, you know. This is their own little world over here in green screen.
Just looking for our own cart to come to you.
You were, and here I am.
We get cars stolen.
So is this the close-up or is this one?
We're talking about this one right now. So it's post snap. So he's at the end of his rope, struggling and pulling backwards.
Right. He's at the top of the shot. There should be a little bit of this. And
yeah,
he's bending
planning on doing a
over.
lot of that.
Yeah, so that he comes all the way over, like. But you do this digitally, right?
We're doing that digitally. Well, that's a real creeper, but it's digital art there.
So this kind of overlaps this?
Well, yes.
This is like a close-up where he looks down and sees the pull in his shoulder and starts to try and pull it out.
Okay, so he's not.
I'm not sure he's
aware.
aware yet where he's been hit or what's stopping him. This is the one where he finds this one where he looks down. And Brexter, it's kind of like, I always go back to Marathon Man. It's kind of like when Laurence Olivier gets stabbed. His eyes are so wide and he's so shocked, and he looks down, and his look drives us down to this pole. I think in a way the creeper's the same thing. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then
they go down to the pole, and then I struggle with it, trying to get it out.
Exactly.
Great. No sweat.
Okay, and action. Cut.
This is a pretty big moment for Drew, so help him focus for you. But here's the beat, okay?
Is there anything in particular I should know that?
Yeah, I'm about to tell you. As the kids crawl away, Drew's going to lean out. This is a big shock moment in the movie because Drew leans out and wham, this hand goes right under his head instantly.
Just as he's coming out?
He'll come out, wham, not just as he's coming out. Let him come out, wham, okay? Then he's going to pry your hand off him. Don't make it easy for him.
Okay.
Okay? This is like your last death clutch. You're clutching onto anything you can, and it's this poor kid's head.
Okay.
When you get it off, throw it off this way, and you go back out of frame like you're falling backwards, okay?
Okay.
And you don't come back up. These are big horror takes, all of them. Izzy, Double D, and Johnny, you're seeing something more horrible than you've ever seen. 3, 2, 1, rock!
Cut.
Okay, we need to work this move out better. Okay, Drew. Drew, look into the box again, sweetie. Al, let's see your arm in. Yeah, we can't see. Your head has to be out of frame, Al. Your head doesn't exist. Now, is Al cheated as close around to you as possible, Dusty? Swing him out toward camera a little bit more, toward you, Al. Head out. I think you're going to look up at the arm when it grabs you. Look up at the arm. All right, let's do one. 3, 2, 1, drop. Al! Cut.
Cut.
One more, please. So, Al, when you grab him, don't let go. He has to pull you off him. You don't help him. You're holding on for dear life out of just dying nerves, okay? And 3, 2, 1, action. Al! Cut!
Cut! But I think they don't have a shirtless dummy.
Well, I think that we will keep Al shirtless because the big effect is a headless, shirtless person. A headless person with a shirt on it, I could do that in my backyard for 25 cents. That's why I ate the shirt. Someone did not read the script very carefully.
Not you.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying it's been in the script for 6 months.
Do one more?
Mark, what time is it?
It's 1:30.
Let's call it a night.
Yeah, it is a wrap. Okay,
it's a wrap. Good work, everyone. Thanks, Al, buddy.
You got it.
Rest well.
We're almost to the end, my children. Thank God. Come here, you fuzzy, dusty old.
That was a good day. That was fun.
Yeah,
I know I'm all nasty.
You did good, buddy.
Good job, felt it.
I'm patting you, there's dust coming off you. Drew, baby, that last one was good. You want to see it?
Yeah, see.
Except for a seat. Yep. Didn't get as many shots as we were supposed to get today. It really is creating something out of chaos. I think we got there at 1, and we wrapped at 1:30, so that's 12 and a half hours, which is a pretty standard day for us. We didn't finish everything we wanted to finish today, which means that tomorrow we'll be back on the bus and shooting in the same direction, continuing on with the scene after Dante's head has been removed. And what happens after that? Another day on the bus, in the same scene. Will it ever end? Sometimes it feels like, no, it never will.
Settle.
And 3, 2, 1. One more and dust him off in the back, please.
I'm somewhat of a Dracula aficionado, and I'm half Romanian, so it's part of my heritage. And I remember going back to Romania, I believe in 2001 or 2, to make a movie. And we were all over that country in Transylvania, and we went to Dracula's castle. We went to the island where supposedly he's buried in this little church that's on the island, and I lay upon his grave with a picture of Vlad the Impaler right next to me. I got a first edition of that book when I was about 10 or 11 years old. I was given it to me as a present, and it was 1897, the first American edition, I believe. And I read it over and over and over, and made a big impression on me as a kid. So I love all horror.
Jeepers, creepers.
Victor Salva, the director of Jeepers Creepers 2, when he was auditioning for a movie called Powder. And I came in to read for Victor for the part of the sheriff that Lance Henriksen eventually played. And Victor said that he was a big Twin Peaks fan. And of course I played Leland Palmer on Twin Peaks, so he said he was driving along Franklin, and he stopped at a stoplight, and in a car next to him was me driving. And he looked over and said, "Oh, that's Ray Wise, Leland Palmer on Twin Peaks. There's an idea, I'll have him in." So he had me in to read for Powder. And I believe he had already cast Lance Henriksen in the piece, but he was still reading the character. And but he did find a role for me in the movie, and that was the head of the state school board. Kind of a one-scene deal, a cameo thing, but he wanted me in the movie. He wanted to work with me. So I went from there. And I was in Peaceful Warrior. I played the doctor in Peaceful Warrior. And then I was in, of course, Jeepers Creepers 2, where I played Jack Taggart. And then I did Rosewood Lane with Rose McGowan, and I played the chief detective in that one.
You waiting for something?
About 3 more days. Give or take a day or 2. About Jeepers Creepers 2, Victor called me on the phone one day, and he was sort of in a panic mode, saying, "The actor that I have playing this part can no longer play the part. Would you consider doing it?" And it was the role of Farmer Taggart. And I don't really want to mention any names, but I believe it was Randy Quaid. But I don't want to mention any names. He was cast to play Farmer Taggart, and for one reason or another, that didn't work out, and he had to vacate the role. And so Victor had me in to meet the other producers, and they said, "Yeah, Ray can step in and maybe save our production time, and we can get the movie off on schedule and actually make the movie." And so I became Farmer Taggart.
Really? You been messing with the post puncher?
No!
I told you what would happen if you screw around with this thing.
I said I didn't!
Victor had sort of envisioned it as a kind of a Captain Ahab in search of the great white whale. And I immediately, jived with that whole aspect of it. And I thought, yeah, Captain Ahab, obsessed, driven, determined to find this creeper and destroy him, knowing that, it took away his youngest son. And so, that whole Captain Ahab thing. And I kept that in my mind the whole time I was making the movie. And of course I had the big harpoon gun machine made from the Post Puncher 500. And it was a wonderful harpoon gun that I made that I was able to get the creeper with a few times. There's one particular moment, after the creeper flies away with my young son, and I'm looking in the sky, feeling totally helpless and frustrated and panicked, and Victor said, "Now I want you to try and keep your eyes open, because I'm gonna zoom in on your eyes, and then we're gonna make the bus is going to come right out of your eyes, the bus with the kids in it." And so I had to hold my eyes open like this for quite a long time, trying not to blink, and I carried it off, but it took tremendous concentration, believe me. And and I wanted so to blink because the sweat was dripping into my eyes, but I kept them open, and that bus came right out of the middle of my forehead.
Someone burning a marijuana field out there tonight? Because these two stories are way out.
Kissel County!
Victor's he's a very hands-on director, and he's always there. He sits right next to his camera in his folding director's chair, and he has the playback right there. But he's pretty close to that camera always, and he likes to have that old-fashioned kind of Hollywood feel for what's going on in the scene, what directors used to have, and he has something, to say just about everything you're doing, and of course, if he wants to see something more or less, he'll let you know about that. But he's a very hands-on director, but very helpful in his suggestions, and certainly knows how to handle actors. He keeps a very low-keyed set, and everybody feels good. We have a pretty happy time on the set, and he's a good guy. I had to go through that whole makeup thing for the old man, and Jonathan and I were in the same makeup trailer while he's putting on the creeper, and of course he had to go through so much always to put on that creeper makeup, which was just superlative. I mean, you would stand a foot away from him and you'd be scared to death. That's how great it looked. And but we had a lot of time, downtime when they're putting the makeup on us to talk about everything under the sun, and we became pretty close.
Jackie, get out! Get out of there now! Jackie!
Luke I loved. He played my son, right? And he was just a lovely actor. He was everything that I needed, as a son in the piece, and more. And and I've always wondered what happened to Luke. I don't know what he's doing now, but he's a fine actor, and I'd like to catch up with him and see what he's doing now. Sean was, you couldn't ask for a better looking son, I suppose, and he did have some of my traits, blue eyes, and his hair was blonde, of course, and mine's much darker than that, although now it's turning silver. But anyway, he was a great looking kid, and poor guy, he had to go through quite a bit in that cornfield, being dragged around by the hair, with the creeper, and but he was a good sport about it.
Billy!
Worked late on the set at the Cajon Ranch, maybe till 12 midnight or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. They rather than drive home back to my home in Los Angeles, which was probably about an hour and a half drive. They put us up in a motel close by, and it was kind of a truck stop motel. So you can envision what those rooms were like. But we were so tired at that point, the shooting day, that just as long as it had a bed, that's all that was necessary. And so those nights in the motel I remember fondly, and playing a certain CD that I liked at the time. It was a Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He's kind of a bluesy guitarist who has a kind of a bluesy voice, and I played his first CD on the way to the set every day, and that sort of got me in the mood for what I had to do that day. They didn't skimp on any of the effects, and being part of those effects, it was pretty awesome to see and to experience, but of course then we had to imagine the creeper flying around in the sky. Although sometimes they'd bring him in on a wire off a crane. They had a big crane the whole time. They would shoot from the top of the crane when the kids are running across the farm field. As a beautiful aerial shot, kind of. Yeah, great photography in the film. Don Fauntleroy, Victor's cinematographer, who I believe has done most of Victor's films, He's superb. Don Fauntleroy is superb, and he gives all of his films such a beautiful look, and then of course the editing was fine, and then Bennett Salve, his music was another character in the whole piece. It was he uses the big full orchestra. He's old time when it comes to that. I believe he even likes to conduct it himself, and Bennett wrote some beautiful score for the film, and especially that moment when I'm harpooning the creeper towards the end of the film, and his music is a beautiful counterpoint to the stabbing away. There was a premiere. I believe it was at the Egyptian Theater. There was a premiere. I think it was at the Egyptian Theater right there on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was a big screening. Everybody from the production was invited and their families and so forth. And I saw it for the first time, and I liked it a lot. I was very impressed, and I even liked myself a great deal. So that was something. It's a movie that I enjoyed doing. I like very much, and I'm proud of all the work that went into it, and I always love my relationship with Victor Salva, the director and creator and writer. He's such a talented man, and of course all Victor has to do is call me up on the phone, and I'll be there.
I can smell something in people, in their fear, something that helps it pick people out.
Pick people out for what? I don't understand how you would know that, sweetie.
A dead boy told me.
I know that there is a script of Jeepers Creepers 3 called Cathedral, that it was going to pick up exactly where 2 left off, and I was still going to be the old farmer Jack Taggart, and the creeper was going to be the creeper again, but then I believe the producers of the series of films decided that they wanted to make it more between 1 and 2, and I think that's the way they worked it out. It's a film that happens in between Jeepers Creepers 1 and Jeepers Creepers 2. So of course Farmer Taggart wasn't in that history of the creeper. But I hope one day maybe Jeepers Creepers 4 will be made, and it'll pick up where 3 left off. Victor Salva talked about a TV show made from it, and taking it from 23 years later, I believe, is the way he was approaching it. So I don't know really what's happened with that. But I think, it's a very worthy franchise, a great character. Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? I love that song. Every time I hear it, it takes me back. Jeepers.
I had just decided to become a storyboard artist, like that week before Victor handed me the script. I just come off of doing graphic novels. I met Victor at a party like on Saturday, said, hey, what you doing, what's new?
Because, hey, I just wrote a script and I really need someone to storyboard. And I said, hey, I just became a storyboarder. I said, Monday I came over to his house again, handed me the script. Tuesday I came back with drawings of the creeper. He said, oh, that's great, and we just started from there. It was just like before anybody else was attached to it at all, before we even know it was really seriously going to go through, I think. We just on our own just started to board it and, you know, come up with all the visuals, and it was great fun. It just flowed so easily for us.
Brad Parker, again, contributed so much to this movie that I like to consider him, you know, my visualist, my initial visualist. You know, he comes in as early as the script is written and starts running with all these ideas.
I mean, I read the script and it was like so, his writing is so intense, so creatively just charged that I got visuals, just you know, huge visuals just out of reading the script. Amazing. I don't know if it's common that you have the storyboard artist and your production illustrator as the same person. I don't think that's very common. I wasn't like doing the really fast, just quick sketches all the time. Sometimes I get really involved in the very strange, detailed production illustrations and storyboards mixed together, which is kind of odd. And I do little diagrams outside the boards that would say, here's the camera moving around the car or something. It's a kind of strange way to do boards. And later on I learned that that's not how you do them. A lot of the stuff, like in some of the boards, when he originally was, you know, his face opened up, you know, when we originally were designing that, we weren't quite sure even how that was going to work. So as I was boarding it, I was designing what his face would do. It was like, it should look like this. So the boards themselves actually became production illustrations of how the creeper should look and how his face works.
The idea of these bony talons that are on his head is the fact that he's got these wings that fold up, and then he tries to look as human as he can. So we had to figure out a way of making that concept work.
The strange thing about creating a concept like that, the first thing you do, I think, is a written word, of course. And then I'll come in and I see it in my head, I start drawing it on paper, and a lot of times, no matter how carefully you draw it, it never quite looks like that original idea in your head. It kind of grows on its own. It kind of is this birthing process, and it's like, oh, it's going to look like this. Oh, instead of that, you know. But it looks better now because you work out a lot of things as it's forming on the paper. And then we take that, and it goes to, and this was really scary the first time we did it, it goes to somebody else. It goes to Brian Pennicus. I'd never done a movie monster. I'd never had it taken to a studio and sculpted and created like that. So it was all fascinating when it happened.
Brad Parker had all these kind of neat concepts of what the creeper may or may not look like, and as more and more meetings were had, and after they had cast Jonathan, we were able to start fleshing those concepts out. And then once you start seeing stuff three-dimensionally, it starts to develop.
Brian's fantastic, so the stuff that he came back with was like, wow, it's like what we wanted, and then so much more, you know, this whole other feel to it that was becoming alive. Like being Dr. Frankenstein, and the creature comes to life, you know, it's fantastic.
There were actually quite a few prototype sculptures made before we had Jonathan Breck cast to play the role. And some of our early designs were very 60s outer limit type of makeups, which were a little extreme. Victor wanted the design of the creeper to still have resemble a lot of the actor that would be wearing it. And we tried to keep that in mind when we were designing it originally, but then as things were sculpted and shown to Victor, or he'd see something, Brad would draw something a certain way and he'd like it and say, oh, make it that way. So it evolved. It's an ongoing process.
I sit there in the makeup chair. Some days it takes me 5 hours, some days it only takes me 3, but it's really great to watch the process. It's a layering process. By the time they're done, I am somebody else. You know, I feel like somebody else. So it's a lot easier for me to just get into that character, because when I look in the mirror, the only thing I see of myself is my eyes. Plus, the makeup, in particular this suit, is cast exactly to my body, so it feels like a second skin. But when I look in the mirror, I've got it, you know, I'm bulked up, you know, 3 times the size that I normally am. You just feel like there's nothing you can't do, you know. I'm the creeper when I'm suited up, you know. It's like a magic cape that you put on and instantly you become the creeper.
I remember when the first time we saw, it was like a makeup test or whatever, and we're standing in this little hallway with this door shut in front of us, and then the door opened and out came Jonathan in full creeper makeup. The first time we ever saw him, hat, coat, everything. And he was so intimidating. He stalks out of the room down the hallway at us, and we're just like, good Lord, you know, this is fantastic. It's like, it's real now. And we're staring at him, and you couldn't see Jonathan in there anywhere. I was just staring at him and looking at him going, wow, I don't see Jonathan Breck in there anywhere, just commenting on the makeup. And Jonathan, in this really low, guttural voice, says, Jonathan's gone.
When you're playing a character like this, it's so far removed from yourself, you just push the envelope, you know, you can't push it too far. Anything your mind can conceive, you can do. You know, I really enjoyed it. Matter of fact, I've had a lot of fun with him off the set too, you know, just scaring him and creeping up behind him and stuff like that.
In Jeepers 2, the creeper actually looks more like we originally envisioned him for Jeepers 1. The first original idea of the creeper was he was black. He was dark as night, and he had long white hair, and that was a weird, scary contrast, kind of like a swamp-like creature. But we kind of moved away from that. We wanted him more lizard-like or gargoyle-like. We thought, well, maybe he wouldn't show up on film very well. If he's all black, what are you going to see? Because, you know, the silhouette was strong enough. It was almost an accident how we got back to that. We were doing the fantasy shots first, or the dream sequences first, where he's coming through the cornfield. And the idea was to make him pitch black, almost a flat silhouette in this three-dimensional world of this gold, gorgeous cornfield. He's just this black, inky figure that you can't see anything into. He's just like so evil, so alien, he's featureless except for darkness. So we had like the stealth makeup, which is all blacked out, and he's got the black cloak and the black hat. It looked so great. And I realized, oh my God, that's the way we first kind of envisioned him. That's how we were going to do it.
We found that if we darkened him up and made him wetter and goopier, that he read better on film and looked scarier. If you'll notice, in the first film, he's very dry and has a lot of dust coming off him. In Jeepers 2, he's like a black demon, a black, wet, tar-like demon. And we did change pigmentation more than anything else.
So in the first film, he has the head chopper, you know, he's on top of the police car, you know, it's right there. In the second film, we wanted to show the weapons as something he had artistically created. So when you have the throwing stars, the shurikens, stuck in the tire of the bus, and they pull them out and they look at them and think, what's this weird handmade thing? And then they turn it over and it's like got molars and teeth in it. And, you know, it's melted down gold from molars to make this bony, pointy thing. The daggers are all like very personalized, extremely strange. And we just went crazy, you know, when we were designing. It was like, well, can we have this thing with a blade coming out of its mouth? Sure, that looks great. You know, anything I want. I was so excited when I was designing the daggers that they were literally going to make those daggers. I thought, they're never going to make this. This is way over the top. This is way too bizarre. And Victor Simon said, oh, that's great. You know, and then like on the designs on the other side, it's a self-portrait of the creeper flying down, getting victims. You know, it's just so wonderful to be able to do that kind of stuff and have it make it on film. So that was all like this huge transition from showing how old he was to really showing that he is this working, thinking creature. He's not just mindlessly killing people for food either. He's got this flair he wants to do it. He's got an artistic style he wants to do it with, you know, and he takes pride, obviously, in, you know, the weapons of his craft. It's very strong for people relating to the creeper, very powerfully. Victor, obviously, and then me, and then Brian Pinnacus and his crew, and then of course Jonathan Breck. It's very strange how we all just kind of flowed together to create this one thing.
You know, for those who must know, because there are people who go crazy if they don't know, and that's always their first question to me, what is he? Is he a demon? I don't think he's a religious character, so demon is kind of a weird word because it's got Christianity around it for me. I don't think he's a demon. I don't think he's an alien. I don't know what he is, but he's hungry. That's the important thing. I do think he started off as a man. How about that? I do think he started off as a man and something horrible happened to curse him with this hunger that is the only way that he can survive.
Good start, that was good. 27. 28.
How is the music from Jeepers 1 different from the music in Jeepers 2, and why?
The creeper this time was, he took to the air.
Got out of the truck.
Got out of the truck, put on the wings, and it really was different from a musical standpoint. I came up with a series of string motifs in the action cues on this that were higher in register, more active. The velocity was definitely a notch or 2 or 10 up from the first.
That's for sure.
And it was really a lot more action music in this film.
I think I've said this before, casting the composer is just as important as casting an actor. You want someone who you think really gets the script, who has a wonderful voice of their own, but will also take a little bit of direction to, you know, kind of help you tell your story. And
it's very important for a composer, a film composer, to take direction from the director in terms of what the director's vision is, what the emotion is, not necessarily in terms of specific instruments or specific chords or something like that.
I haven't gotten to the point yet where I say, I want this all to be French horns right here.
No, that's good. That's a good thing. We don't want that point to come.
Let's talk about temp tracking. Composers do not like temp scores. Isn't this true? Because it's somebody else's ideas being kind of...
Well, especially it depends on the situation. I think the composers object the most if there's a temp score and the composer's being asked to mimic the temp score very closely. You do your own temp scores, which is unusual. A lot of directors will have music editors, somebody else will do it. So it tells me that if you've got something really kicking ass in an action scene, I'm going to know you want it to really kick ass. On the first Jeepers, I did almost all my own orchestrating. On this one, because of time, partly, I used more outside orchestrators who did a great job.
What's an example? Because I think people get the idea that orchestrators actually write the music, but they don't, do they?
No. I mean, in this case, there were two people, Lolita Ritmanis and Randy Kerber, who did a lot of the outside orchestrating.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of one cue in particular, what we call the field chase, which is when the creeper is flying and all the kids leave the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And they're running in this big field. And Randy Kerber did the orchestration on that cue. He took the same notes I had, but there was a section where I had a string motif kind of high doing this kind of a busy part. And he'd weave in a couple of woodwind instruments just for a bar or two, couple trumpets, same notes, but he would color it. He would, added color, and there's a real art to doing that.
So we get to the stage and we hear you conduct the score. We record the cues for the film. I tell everyone that I don't look forward to Christmas. I look forward to those 3 days when we get to go to that stage and hear all this incredible new music for my movie.
Because no matter what the notes or what the sketches are, as soon as you get in that situation, it's just like,
that's my
wow,
Christmas. That really is my Christmas.
Yeah, for me, still, every time I'm on a scoring stage with incredible musicians like that and the whole atmosphere, it's just very exciting for me. I kind of feel like a kid, at a candy store.
So do I.
Because there are so many incredibly talented people that are the best at what they do.
We tried to make a very different movie in both sound and picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think the music is a great contributor to that.
Get back in seats.
Every 23rd spring, for 23 days, the creeper gets to eat. Was written so that there would never be a sequel to Jeepers Creepers, ironically enough. That was my very smart writer's way of saying, they're not going to turn this into a tent pole where you just get so tired of these movies that you don't see too many of them. I say, my creeper only shows up for 23 days at a time, which means the next movie, they'd have to shoot it in the future or shoot it in the past, and they'd never do that. It was Francis or somebody who found it to be deceptively simple. You just make it part of the same 23 days. Since we don't know when the first one took place, was it on day 1 or something, that there could be an endless stream of these things? I wasn't that clever to think that out.
Johnny! Open the fucking doors, man! Open the goddamn doors!
Francis Ford Coppola convinced me to do the sequel. We both saw it as an opportunity to come back and do the first one again the way I really wanted to, which was with a lot of big suspense, action, and horror kind of put together, because those three don't come together very often. My original Jeepers script had Trish, surviving sister, going after the creeper with Giselle, the psychic, and a lot of the other characters from the first film. And the kids trapped in a bus was like a subplot that helped flesh out that story of them hunting the creeper. However, the more the story progressed, the most interesting part of the story became these kids trapped on this bus. And that's when I realized that I was missing the juiciest part of my own story.
I talked to Victor several times, and he says he tries to come like old school. So it's like, you know, The Thing and, you know, the old school monster movies. So he doesn't want to do so much blood and guts. He wants to do more like fright and suspense.
I don't know, Victor has like a really cool, twisted mind in the ways that he tells stories, and he's just a cool artist.
After bragging on the first DVD for Jeepers about how my films are always about one person, I find it very ironic that now I have like 12 speaking kids and about 10 others trapped on this bus. I really wanted to push my own envelope and see, okay, the movies are always about one person. What if you have to have this sort of community of people?
Fuck? Is it looking at me?
I think I would go back, and now when I write for large groups of people, I would try and get their character down in the opening scene with just a couple of lines, because there is an art form, I think, to fleshing characters out without having to give each one of them their individual scene, especially in a film like this.
Listen to me, piece of shit! He looked at you too, bro. I saw him and you did too. He looked right at you and smiled.
We again went out and did a huge casting call. Some of the principals were completely new. They'd never been in a movie before. Travis Schiffner, who plays Izzy, had never done a picture before, and turned out to be really impressive.
The actors are great. I mean, this really is a strong cast, so I think that it really broadens it, because you got character actors, so, I mean, even though it's a young cast.
Actually, the actor who plays Izzy, Travis, we actually worked at Hamburger Hamlet together, so it was kind of cool to see him on the set.
Eric Nenninger, who plays Scotty, he'd never done a feature before. He'd done a couple of seasons on Malcolm in the Middle.
Everybody that I know read for this movie, every young actor. He's cool because he gives young actors a chance that haven't worked on anything. This is my first feature film that I've done at all, so I was great. You know, it was a perfect thing to start with.
Gary Kai Mutambirwa, who plays Double D, you know, he'd been in a couple of features, but never one that focused on him so much.
Victor told me what he wanted to see in Double D, and I totally agreed with that. So it's basically talking with the director and seeing how he reacts to these situations. Tells you a lot about how the character is.
There's no feeling that's more gratifying than giving some talented kid a shot at something and having them run with it.
I've always wanted to be in a horror movie. I thought, you know, I would get past that point in my career where I couldn't play teenagers anymore, and then I wouldn't have done a horror movie, so I'm really happy to have this job.
Our cast is 10 or 15, so it's a big cast, and it's laid back, it's fun atmosphere. There's so many people to
hang out with and talk to. It's a great experience. It's really fun.
Since we've been on set, as a matter of fact, it's very hard to get the bus quiet. They talk so much because we're all goofing around and laughing and running around the trailers together, and it's been a lot of fun.
One of the reasons why I think I like taking chances on new people is that if everyone felt that way, including Francis Coppola, I wouldn't be making movies. He took a chance on somebody new, and it was me. You know, he took a chance on some kid who said, hey, I can do this. And so I try and return the favor and send that into the universe where, you know, I'm paying it forward, perhaps, you know, to give these kids their chance because I got my chance. And like I say, sometimes it just pays off beautifully. Very impressed by a good action film or a film that incorporates visual effects in a way that really helps tell the story. And one of my, you know, still trying to prove myself here in the early part of my career is I wanted to know if I could do a big action film and really pull off these action sequences.
This movie basically picks up where the first one left off. Last scene of the last movie, the creeper goes flying out a window, and that's right where we pick it up here. The creeper's airborne in nearly every scene. So there's lots of flying rigs, lots of ratchets, lots of wire work. Basically, what we had to pull together tonight was the character named Taggart shoots the creeper with a harpoon gun and a big spear, shoots him in the left shoulder, sending him flying through the air. So what we've done today is a ratchet hooked to Darren Prescott, who is our creeper double. And we've given a little twist, literally. We've actually given him 2 or 3 raps, which simulates him being shot off-center, sending him twisting and flying through the air.
Yeah, basically Monty Simmons, the stunt coordinator, came up with the idea in pre-production when they were going to shoot him with the harpoon, and he knew we could do these sort of ratchets, and I think he figured it would fit in really well with the storyboards and the action they had laid out. We've done these sort of before like this, obviously not off a school bus, dressed like a creeper at night, but similar applications on other shows, so we kind of knew this was just the right tool for the job.
3, 2, 1, go!
You know, it's funny because when we signed the contract, we signed to do our own stunts. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna have to be ratcheted like 50 feet in the air. You know, I was really thinking I had to do like all this crazy stuff, but not really. I mean, we lay on the ground sometimes and this and that, but the professional stuff, the ratchets and people getting jerked off their feet, we would just die. We'd get killed doing that stuff.
We've simulated the creeper dropping out of the sky and snatching these kids up and ratcheting them back up into the sky, which is a similar situation to what we've just done here.
3, 2, 1, go!
There are, I think, 5 digital shots in Jeepers 1, and I think there's about 140 in Jeepers 2. And we were lucky to have our special effects supervisor on set with us every day.
When we're out here representing the visual effects side of the film, usually we're focusing on what's not in camera and not seen a lot of the times. The most important things for us are making sure we get the right lighting, and we take a lot of lighting samples while we're out here. We take a lot of camera information, always keeping in mind what's in the frame, what's not in the frame, what we have to add. And sometimes have an opportunity to help out with the action of how the motion of things are going on, how the shot's set up. A lot of the second camera stuff, we help set up the shots to make sure that we get what we need in it. We're shooting a lot of it on green screen that will then apply CG wings for it, but it really, when the moves start getting complicated or when we want to fly him a great distance or something like that, and Victor wants to get really creative on the look of the film and what he's doing with the creeper, then we kind of take that into the digital realm.
All you kids, get down!
I've been trying to put together what I call my film family since the first time I made a film. You know, I'm looking for people that I have a rapport with, who I enjoy working with, and who seem to understand, like, you know, what I'm trying to communicate. My DP, Don Fauntleroy, this is our 3rd film together.
You don't get this opportunity to light up 3/4 of a mile of road at night and a half a mile across. I mean, this is twice in my career since being a cinematographer, both times with Victor, both times on Jeepers. So it's worked out really well. It's fun. The lights that we were talking about are the dinos that are up on the condors over here. There's a night sun over there. In fact, there's a night sun sitting right here on the ground that we're about to put in the air. It's got three 24 light units on it.
I used the same makeup and effects house because I find Brian Pennicus and Makeup and Monsters matched their talent with enthusiasm, and I need people that are excited about what we're doing too, because I need to feed off their enthusiasm in the same way they need to feed off mine.
To completely put him in the entire suit that we're doing tonight, it takes about 4 hours. So they have to start us really early so they can take advantage of the limited night darkness that they have during the summer.
What makes a good scary movie, I think, is when the situations and the characters are real. If it's somebody that we're laughing at or somebody we can't really identify with, we can sit in the audience and have our popcorn and cheer the bad guy on, etc., etc. But when the characters are written well and when they're real, I think it makes it really scary because we identify with them.
One of the things I hope the film does is nestle you in this community of kids that feels very real, and then when darkness descends upon them, you find their inner machinations very interesting. In fact, that's kind of really what drives the movie. I wouldn't have that if I didn't find these really exceptional kids, and I'm really thrilled with all of them, I have to say.
I really love the way Victor works with his actors. He works individually, I've noticed. I thought at first, wow, he really works with me very well, and I can't believe it just so happens. It's a coincidence that he works the same as me. But Victor, I noticed with the other actors, he works with actors based on, he can see how to get the best work out of them. I think that's a really smart, very intelligent director to take, 12-something actors and be able to work with them all on their own terms.
From the very beginning, I was completely relaxed. He just makes us all feel really comfortable and makes us kind of feel like a family.
He says he believes in letting actors run with what they have. Every once in a while, he'll give you just a little bit and he'll say, change this, bring it up, give me just a little more. Nail this one. He doesn't say much, but when he does say it, he knows just how to say, and he's just nice about it.
You waiting for something?
About 3 more days. Give or take a day or 2.
The whole idea of Jeepers 2 is about this community of people that is threatened by this dark force. And there are some people in the community who get so scared and so concerned about their own interest that they decide that they're going to divide and conquer with fear so they can protect themselves and their own interest. However, that ends up very bad for them. And the outcasts of the movie decide to stick together and they survive. That's my way of trying to take my monster movie, because it is a monster movie, and I have no delusions that it's anything more than that. Trying to tell another story within the trappings of my little dark fables that I tell. So I think there's a beautiful heart inside Jeepers 2, and hopefully it's all wrapped up in a great little roller coaster ride that reminds us that there's nasty stuff out there, but we really need to come together as one planet and one people if we're going to get through the real nightmares of the world.
Oh yeah, going set up the scarecrow. I don't want to set up the scarecrows, you set up the scarecrow. I'm a big one, I'll show you a big one.
Don't use that kind of mouth on your brother. I told you that.
Shut up, dickhead! I'll get Mac to come over there and bite your dong off.
They can't just whip the jack out and pump this mother up?
I can. In fact, I'd like to do that right now. I'd love to just whip it out and start pumping it up right here, right now, in front of everybody.
Covering the basement's walls and ceiling. One on-the-scene witness called it a human tapestry of torture.
You telling me Bouncing Betty can't just throw in a spare?
Never forget.
I'm serious, she's probably stronger than both coaches put together.
Coach! How much water we got?
Let me check.
I'll do it. We may be out here for a while.
The hell time is it?
What are you worried about?
He's worried that if someone doesn't show up here soon, we're gonna be sitting out here tonight instead of Jenny Carludi's party.
Like you'd have a chance there, Squirt.
What's the matter with you, B? Look at this face. This kid could get laid in a convict. Besides, as returning champions, the odds of getting lucky at any party tonight.
It's about 1,000,000 to 1.
It's your glitch, bitch.
This black boy's a Cooper handed you your ass today with a silver bow around it.
Hey, were you at the same game we were? Because we won.
Yeah, big fucking landslide.
Big enough. Why don't you pull your putt out of the mud?
Why don't you lay the fuck down? You're blocking my son.
And remember Mr. Mulligan and how he had all those cats? And he used to come in just stinking like cats.
Hey, easy. Hey, Jack. You saw me, right? Run that fast break, huh?
Oh, Kimball, man, control yourself.
Can't help it. Riding on a bus does it to me every time.
Yeah, we hoping it's the bus.
Off the top, gentlemen. Assholes and elbows. Let's go.
Hannah's got it in for me. Still think we're at a good start next year, huh? Check it out. These little token lightweight bars.
Sure broke down on the interstate. Nobody drives the old 9 anymore.
If you could just get to the nearest phone and let them know we're stuck out here.
This is Andy Buck. I'm with the Bannon County Band. We are stuck in a broken down school bus. Do you read me? Come on, is anybody even out there? This is Andy Buck. We're stuck in a broken down school bus out on...
Nobody's phone works. Nobody's fucking phone works. I mean, how is this possible?
Hey, Bucky, what exactly is on this bus? Anything that could double for a weapon.
It's a bus, not a tank.
Tools, a crowbar, a jack. Come on, something.
Well, if there is, I don't know where, okay?
A weapon? Do you think you can fight this thing? Maybe you didn't see. It's strong enough to lift people up the fucking ground.
Hey, guys. Betty's flare gun. A bunch of flares for it, too.
We send one up.
You can't send up a flare out here. You set the hills on fire.
So set them on fire! It's a weapon, man! Don't you ever watch fucking horror movies? They always shoot the thing in the mouth with a flare gun. What are you talking about, mouth? The eye, the mouth, wherever you can get him, you go for the soft spot. This isn't a movie, Dante! No, it's not a movie! What are you gonna do? You gonna get close enough to shoot that thing in the fucking balls, huh? Hey, back off, man! I don't even know if this thing's got balls!
Hey, guys. Hey, I gotta pee. Come on, man! What are we supposed to do in here?
Stick it out the window and take your chances.
Come on, man, we can't all just not go to the bathroom! What, are we supposed to sit here and piss ourselves?
What are these?
Track and field. There's a meet yesterday in Pertwilla.
Javelins? We've got spears on this bus?
Spears ending in 12.5 inches of rust-free, heat-tempered, aerodynamically engineered titanium alloy.
Sticks. I don't want to wait around so you can poke at that thing with sticks. That thing shows up here again and I'd rather have a sharp stick in my hand than nothing at all. Who says we wait around? I'm serious. Who says that we sit in this tin can like a bunch of scared sardines? As opposed to what? I don't know, sitting in here jacking off with that radio? Somebody shut those lights off. Hey, not you!
It's not there.
boy was trying to warn us that this thing, whatever it is still out there. Looking for parts. It has to replenish the human part of its body every 23 years.
Oh, come on.
Minx, how would you know that?
Same way I know that by morning it has to go back into the earth, into the ground for 23 more years.
And then what? It lives happily ever after? Why don't you clean out your bong, alright?
Scotty, just listen to her.
This is a dream she had, Rhonda. What, are you gonna believe it?
Scotty, will you shut up? Shut up! Just shut the fuck up!
It is coming back.
Come on, D. You need to get to this side. Come on, everybody, come on! I'm not touching this thing. This is the way out. You just gonna sit back there and wait for the Red Cross? Get your ass over here. Now. Dante was one. They ripped his fucking head off.
I'm so fucking sick of you. You use me. You use all of us. All you care about is yourself. Hey,
not now.
You wanna know why you played 12 minutes, Scotty? Huh? You wanna know why?
Why?
Because you fucking suck. That's why. You suck. You're not a team player. You're not a fucking team player.
Fuck you!
I'm so fucking sick of you.
Fuck you!
No, fuck you.
That's the truck that passed us this morning. Remember with the big bug on top of it?
You think we can just drive away in it?
No, but I think I know how to hotwire a truck. That's how I got my bar fight. I was trying to steal somebody's truck. Gay bar?
Jesus Christ.
Wherever it was going, I don't think he made it.
Oh my God, the keys are in it!
I've known Victor for quite a while. I was actually, just out of acting school, I did a play. And an actor that he had cast in a film that he was about to do came to my show and said, hey, I know they're still looking for one of the leads. So I went and auditioned and got the part, and we meshed creatively very well. And our instruments and our approach to the work, it just felt really great. His sense of story and direction and how he worked with actors particularly was impressive to me. And it was also my first film, and it was like an experience of rebirth in a way, creatively. I had been in school and I'd done this play, and then doing this film was just a terrific experience. It was a great character. Unfortunately, the film never got finished, and it never saw the light of day, but it was a great experience. It was like, it was a baptism in filmmaking, and it was fantastic. One thing that becomes clear about working with Victor is he really likes actors. He loves actors. He loves what they do, and he has great respect for it. And he listens to your strengths from the get-go. I could tell from the audition for that particular film, for example, that he started to tune into what I was bringing to the part, and then just started feeding off of that. And what he'll end up doing is a lot of times he incorporates what you bring into the part if he likes what you bring. So it's an energizing experience because you feel like you're not just you're not a tool for a creative vision that is unmovable, but rather you're a collaborator, and that is the most exciting part for me about working. To feel like you're. You know, the great thing about film is it's such a collaborative art, and everyone brings their talent and their skill set to bear, and then you get combustion on the day, and that's when the magic happens. That's what makes me want to keep doing it, because it's that magic that just happens spontaneously, and that, for me, is what has set Victor apart from other directors in working with him. He is completely tuned in to that moment of combustion. And so you feel like you have a partner. He feels like a scene partner when you're working. And so it's very gratifying. And that's why we keep working together every chance we get, you know.
I wasn't as familiar with Victor. Actually, I had been, I have a home in Florida, and I'd been there, and I actually flew in and got the call. I mean, I wasn't on the ground for 30 minutes, and so I just went straight to it. And I played sports, football, for a long time, and so I was familiar with coaches and so on and so forth, and he was written sort of as a pretty stern guy, and so it was a fun guy to do it. And Victor said I was his coach, so I was the coach, man. I enjoyed being the coach. It was great. The kids gave me the coach's respect, and I liked it a lot. It was great. I liked working with Victor a lot. Victor gave me a lot of room. Actually, because we had so many young people, he had to spend more time there, and so that actually worked out well for me because I kind of like discovering and finding things, for myself when I can. And so it was he was there, but I got a good little bit of room to work, and so that turned out to be wonderful.
You get a good look at the points on this thing. It's either ivory or some kind of bone.
Throw that damn thing away before you need a tetanus shot.
I wasn't aware of the first one, but the Jeepers Creepers 2 my agents called and said, listen, they're looking for a ballsy bus driver. So I said, well, I'm that. I can do that. And I went in and auditioned, and I think after it was, Victor was there at the audition, and he said something to me, like, nice, like, that was pretty good. Something like that. And I thought, oh, Victor, you nut. And then, you know, like in the movies, you go home and you think, God, did I do all right? And then you get a call that they want to use you. So he was smart enough, I love you, Victor, to cast me. And he was kind. He's a soft-spoken guy. No, there's no yelling. You know, a lot of directors, they yell or they get animated or they get hideously abusive. He's none of that. He's kind, he's sweet, he knows what he loves, he knows what he's good at, and he speaks really, like, softly to his actors. There's no, like, line readings or any of that crap. He lets you do what you do, but he's got his, it's all planned out. It's all everything. You come to a set that's ready to go.
Some of the farm exteriors we shot near Valencia. For some of the road stuff in the middle of the night, we were out in Tejon Ranch, and that was great. That was a great location to shoot in. You know, as an actor, you try to use as much as is available to feed you, and that location was just ripe with. It was the middle of the night. You're out in the middle of nowhere, and there's this bus, and it was so conducive to getting into that mind space of where these people were, and particularly when Charlie gets abducted, when the head coach, and who to my character he was a beloved figure to my character in the background story that I created for him, and so when he gets abducted, that was so easy to conjure that fear and that absolute terror of this person disappearing and just seeing them fly up into the air in front of you, and the location helped a lot, tremendously. Yeah.
It was cold. We were up, I think Tejon Ranch, something like that. Most of the time we shot from sundown to sunup, a lot of days, and so it was cold, and then you had to try to sleep in the daytime, and with the sun coming through your window in the hotel room, and so you didn't get as much sleep. But when we were actually working, it was great. And I watched it all. I mean, the kids with the pigeons that came out and all that stuff. It was just a lot of fun. And Tom and Diane were great to work with, and we were the adults on the set. So Diane is a character. She plays a character, but she is a character. And man, she drove that bus, and she had a great sense about her. And Tom and I sort of bonded because, again, we were the adults on the set and so on and so forth. So we just had a really good time, and I've seen her in a couple of things since then. She's a wonderful actress and somebody I enjoyed working with a lot.
This side of the fence. This side of the fence. Scott, come on.
Everyone stays back and off the road! Now!
Stuck in the side of the tire again. Oh, God. Don't tell me that's a belly button in the middle of that thing.
I loved Bus Driver Betty because she was a no-shit kind of gal. She was just meat and potatoes, and she said what she thought, and we were all wondering what was in her toolbox under her seat, and there would be certain days that we would shoot, and God love the crew, they would put like sex toys in the box next to the flares. So one day there was a like a phallic kind of instrument. So I just picked it up while we were shooting and sang, "Fly me to the moon."
And we did shoot in this large hangar in Long Beach. That was really impressive how production created and duplicated Tejon Ranch. Is like you really couldn't tell the difference, except that you could get in a little cart and a golf cart and go from one side to the next. It was a lot more convenient, but it was fantastic. It was a great, it was another great experience, and the kind of fun part of filmmaking that you're creating theater, if you will, but what's really going on behind the scenes can be quite different than what's happening on screen. And yet at the same time, when both are cut together, the stuff that was shot at Tejon Ranch and the stuff at Long Beach was cut together. It's seamless. You can't tell the difference.
No, actually, the death scene was done out on the ranch, out on the street at night. And 2 or 3 really interesting things about the death scene was that the guy who did the death scene, who actually was my stunt double, I knew from Alabama. Grew up about 40 miles from me. And we'd actually worked on In the Heat of the Night together, Charlie. And so Charlie did the stunt, but man, Charlie, I'm glad it was Charlie that did it rather than me, because he was way up in the air, man. I'll tell you a great story about the death scene. When we had the premiere, we go to the premiere, we're there, my wife goes with me, who doesn't like any kind of blood anywhere or anything like that. And the film starts to roll, and of course, you know, lights go down, it's dead quiet in the theater. And we go about 25, 30 minutes into the film, and my character, Coach Hanna, gets snatched up by the creeper. He gets snatched up first. He's the first guy to go. He's the head coach. Get rid of the adults first, that kind of a thing. And so my guy gets snatched up in the air, and it's just this real silence, and then that flare falls down, and it hits the ground, and this guy shouts out in the theater, "The brothers always go first, man." And everybody cracked up. I've never forgotten that.
Well, first what they were going to do is, because I was a stunt woman for years at Universal, at the tour in Los Angeles, and I did the Wild West stunt show. So I would get blown out of buildings and use bullwhips and shotguns and pistols and rifles. And when I was learning the world of stunts back in the early 90s, I was 6. I was 6 years old. They had a thing called the pullback, which was I get shot on the roof. They have like a harness around you, but your clothes are on the outside of it. And as soon as you're hit, somebody hits a thing and you're pulled straight back. Well, that's a little difficult. They had this, I think they used green screen. They were going to use a big, like a pullback, but on a crane that drops down, that once the smoke or the creature comes down, they would yank you up into the air. But they decided to do green screen on that, and I think they used a good friend of mine, Elle Alexander, because she doubled me, and she's much thinner than I am. So that scene was good when I was yanked up, because that was actually her. So a lot of green screen, a lot of rebuilding of the highway. We actually used, I think we were in Santa Clarita or up north in, I think it was like an old Highway 101 or something that was shut down where they shoot a lot of movies, and it's a big field, open field. A lot of it was shot there, and then a lot of it was shot inside like an airplane hangar in Long Beach, I think. A carbon copy of the field that everybody was running and screaming in. But no, the only stunt work I really did was stop and start and say things like shit and shut the hell up. It was my stunt mouth that did most of the work.
happened? What'd you see? What'd you see? Come on! Did you see something or not?
She flew away.
I had a harness, and there were three guys. There were three stuntmen, one to each side of the door, and then one on top of the roof. And so they basically pulled me up and sideways and in every direction. And the first couple of times, you know, getting the rhythm right. And by the way, this stunt team is fantastic, just, you know, top notch. You know, Monty Simmons and his guys are just an amazing crew. And but it was fun. I actually did, you know, get a little knocked around, not badly, but just enough to help with the feeling. It was great. I had a wonderful time doing that, and I actually kept wanting to do it again and again. You know, it was, yeah.
You got a problem with me?
No, you got one with me.
Do I what?
You heard me.
We don't have time for bullshit, Scotty. Go sit down.
First time I watched it was in the theater, and premiere is great. You know, they had the corn stalks and all the hay out there and all that stuff. And, you know, generally you do a film like that, you're never with everybody till generally the premiere. And so you get to see everybody, you get to talk to everybody, and then talking to the editors and the people who you never work with. And so that part's always good for me. I'm a storyteller. I do a lot of writing, and so, you know, you just see a lot of stories when you do those kinds of things. And seeing it that night was just a lot of fun. Hanging out with everybody was just great. And some of the young people, I think it was maybe their first time out. Watching them react. Some of them I followed their career since then, like Eric, I think Nettinger is his last name or something to that effect. Eric's done a lot of stuff. I see him all the time. And so you always want to see who goes where from there, and who this gave a big boost to. And I think it's given a boost to quite a few people. So.
I was blown away. I thought it was great. And especially people that really dig horror movies, they were digging it, you know? So, other than The Wicker Man, that's the only two kind of horrific or horror films I've done, but I like them. Because I know what's coming. It's not like you're going there and you're like, oh my God. So.
Well, it's been a special project for me for several reasons. One, like I said, I hadn't been too long out here. And so to get that role was really good and really big for me in my career. Also, I do a lot of speaking across the country. And whenever you go speak to young people, you know, as you get more seasoned, your hair gets more white and all that wonderful stuff, you're talking to younger people. And so there are two projects I've been involved in that the younger people just, oh man, they go crazy. One's Fight Club, you know, the young boys, they want to mix it up and so on and so forth. And then I tell the kids I was in Jeepers Creepers too, I'm somebody then. They love me then, you know, they want to talk to me, man. And so it's been one of those things, you know, you do a lot of different things, and some of them stay with you, and Jeepers has stayed with me. And it's just been, it was a wonderful experience, and it continues to be a wonderful experience.
We had a great opening weekend for Jeepers Creepers, and then 2 days later, on that Tuesday, the towers came down. And literally, the world changed, and my world changed. And on top of all the horror, etc., personal and global, Jeepers got knocked right out of the top 10 and never came back. And it's weird to think about now, so many years later, but we'll never really know what that movie could have done because fate stepped in. I think Jeepers 2 is my 9/11 parable. And when I tell people that, they go, what? And I said, think about it. There's a community inside the bus. It's divided. There are cliques. There's a lot of violence going on among them. And then this darkness from above comes and just rips their world apart. And if you notice, the outcasts who stick together survive. It's a horrible thing, but they survive. And when I tell people, that's my way of saying, look, 9/11 scared the fuck out of us, but here's how we survive it. We don't go to the dark place. We go to the, okay, time to get together place, people. And that might be a very silly way to look at Jeepers 2, but I can't look at it any other way.
It's time to stop being polite. There are two classes of people on this bus now.
What the hell is that supposed to mean, huh? Two classes of people? What, the will be eaten and the won't be eaten? Fuck you, Scotty.
Well, the best thing about the success that occurred with the first one is whatever we hoped for, the movie transcended it. And so it took on a life of its own. And moments prior to 9/11. And it was ridiculously successful over what was at the time considered a dead weekend, Labor Day weekend. And the Zoetrope and United Artists and MGM decided that was where they wanted it. They wanted to position it just at the end of the summer, see if they could get, you know, a nice straggling of school kids and horror fans at that time of year. And it just took off.
I felt that directors who do sequels are telling people that they're out of ideas or hard to get work, or there's a rule, an unspoken rule, that you can maybe get away with 2, but if you do 3, you're telling people your career is basically over. He said, about to start Jeepers 3, by the way. So I thought, no. Then Francis Coppola, one of his visits here in town, said, come over to my house, I want to talk to you. And I said, yeah, MGM wants to do another one. Now, I just have a hit movie, basically. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go on to something else and make another hit movie. But it's not going to be Jeepers 2. And then Francis sat me down and said, okay, so what about this Jeepers 2? I said, it won't work, Francis. Number one, I built that thing into the creeper so that this couldn't turn into Freddy 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's every 23 years for only 23 days. And that's when Francis said, well, then you could essentially, you could do at least 22 more of them because Jeepers 1 takes place over 1 day. He really talked me into it, and I'm not sure why. I don't think he was making any great amounts of money off the first Jeepers. I don't think either one of us did. But he explained to me, he appealed to my filmmakers, look, they want to do this, and everything you had to take out of 1, you can try and do in 2.
It's an interesting thing about 2 is that one day he came in and he had Hitchcock's Lifeboat. And I'm a Hitchcock fan. I'm a huge Hitchcock fan. And he goes, yeah, Mr. E, let's look at this. And he goes, that's what Jeepers 2 is going to be. Now, he'd already written the script, and it was the boss, and it was and I'm sitting there thinking, really? That's Lifeboat? But the whole idea of the enclosure and the bus and just this place of being cornered, and in the midst of these walls kind of crumbling in on you is the resilience of these characters to either outmaneuver, outscrap,
or happily outlive the creeper.
I wanted to blow up the bus. I got so tired of being in that bus. It was just, I have to be very honest. But, well, it was, I mean, you were dealing with a bunch of kids instead of 2 kids. The bus was a challenge. That bus was a real challenge. And when we did all the stuff out at Tejon, Fort Tejon, up at the top of the Grapevine, all the exteriors are done there. And then all the interiors of that bus were done at a hangar in Long Beach. And we all that stuff looking out and all the stuff with the creeper on top of the bus, that was all done in this massive hangar. And we literally recreated the exterior there and built the road out in the front. In fact, there's a couple of scenes, if you look closely, you'll notice that the whole front of the bus is missing. You're looking out the front window and the whole engine compartment's gone. We forgot to put it back in.
What happened? What did you see? What did you see? Come on! Did you see something or not?
She flew away.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
What I just said.
People don't fly the fuck away!
Sit down, Scott.
What the hell's going on out there?
I said sit the fuck down and shut up, goddammit! Now!
And we did shoot in this large hangar in Long Beach. That was really impressive how production created and duplicated Tejon Ranch. Is like you really couldn't tell the difference, except that you could get in a little cart and a golf cart and go from one side to the next. It was a lot more convenient, but it was fantastic. It was a great, it was another great experience, and the kind of fun part of filmmaking that you're creating theater, if you will, but what's really going on behind the scenes is can be quite different than what's happening on screen. And yet at the same time, when both are cut together, the stuff that was shot at Tejon Ranch and the stuff at Long Beach was cut together. It's seamless. You can't tell the difference.
I really thought, well, you could at least see what it's like to make a James Cameron movie. You can make Jeepers 2 as kind of an Aliens to your Alien, and we put these big set pieces in, and we pulled trucks. You ripped trucks right off the ground and turned over school buses and chased after, I mean, we just did all this stuff that I've never had a chance to do. And I can tell you right now, after that experience, I don't want to make those kinds of movies. I want to watch them. I do not want to make them. They're incredibly tedious. There's a moment where the creeper hits the top of the school bus and all the windows blow out. That's like half a night waiting for that one shot because they're setting up air cannons and explosives inside the bus, and you're waiting half a mile away because they're afraid that if anything explodes early, someone will get hurt, and an MGM pulls up and they're sitting there standing behind your monitor wondering why all this time is going by for this one shot, and you're wondering it too. It's so technical, that kind of filmmaking. And every set piece in Jeepers 2, which I'm very proud of the set pieces, though I wish I would have done a few more digital shots to help some of the set pieces, but they take time. And we had like 35, 40 shooting days. I think we went over a couple of shooting days on that one because it was just so technical.
I like the first one. I think the first one is better story-wise. It's just, I just like that whole film. But look-wise, I love the look of the second one. I mean, I like the look of both of them, but the second one I had a lot more manpower and a lot more tools to really achieve what we wanted to achieve. I mean, God, we were doing that night stuff. I had 75 electricians. It was a much bigger picture than one. And it would have been nice had we had a little more time, because then we wouldn't have had to have somebody else, a second unit, do the green screen. Victor and I could have stayed on top of the green screen because there was a few things that were done that we weren't happy with.
Half its fucking head's gone.
Now that we had a budget that was twice as much as the first one, I said, okay, more creeper. Let's get him up in the air, flying around, and airborne menace. Let's have a community. You know, it was a brother and sister in the first one. Let's have a whole community of people. A community we can all relate to because we all went to high school and it had its horrible moments and its wonderful moments. But you remember all those people. You know, you were one of them.
Wanna play cock of the walk, bro?
Why do I think you want to call me something else? You want to call me something else, Scotty? Because I don't think you get I can see you thinking it, whether you say it or not.
Randy Quaid has always been one of my favorite actors. And if you look at his work, he's really fantastic. And I wrote the dad, Taggart, another character from Moby Dick, which I sprinkle throughout all of my screenplays because I still think that's probably the greatest book I've ever read. Someone told me, why don't you put Randy Quaid as the dad? And I thought, oh, well, Ray would be so much better. But Francis made a call, and MGM liked the name, etc. So here comes Randy Quaid and his wife. And they came in one day for a costume fitting. I shook Randy's hand, and his wife then called Francis during whatever we were doing, and suddenly they were gone, and I saw my opening and I took it. I said, guys, we're shooting in a week. Why don't we give it to the man I thought that I wrote the part for? Come on, he killed Laura Palmer, okay? If you need some sort of a whatever, he's been in all these movies. He's a wonderful actor. I first cast him in Powder he's got a great scene in Powder. And that's how Ray became the farmer, and he loved it so much because he got to do something he doesn't use. Usually he's a lawyer in a suit. He came running up to me one day when we were working at the farm, and he goes, "Look, I've got dirt under my fingernails." And I said, "Yeah, see, this is something he never gets to do." And he's so wonderful in it, you know. He just has presence. We caught him on fire once. The dog bit him once. He didn't complain at all.
What's the story in this thing?
Whatever you've heard, probably.
You expect us to think that that thing's real?
Don't really care.
How'd you kill it?
Stabbed it right through the heart with a big homemade harpoon.
I love Ray. We've done 4 or 5 films together, and he's a real pleasure to work with. He's such a pro. Comes in, knows his dialogue. It's just, he is like the ultimate actor you want to work with in regards to professionalism and just, he's witty, he's quick, he's funny, and he does his job. He's great. He's a good actor.
Are there any landmarks near you? Are you close to anything?
Yeah, I'm close to peeing my fucking pants, man. Can you just please tell me that you're on the way?
I can't really judge the strength of your signal, but it doesn't sound close.
Ray had, you know, he was an enraged, vengeful dad out to get this thing that committed this unspeakable act to his kid. And, you know, in the hands of maybe somebody of lesser stature, you could have gone through those emotions in a minute. But he maintained something that kept it going. And in fact, we even had fun with some of it. There's a scene where he's anviling the spear, and I think what it was, I don't know. I think the dailies had like, you know, whatever, a number of takes and no more than 6 to 10 whacks on the anvil, and Victor turned that into just a symphony of him whacking away at that thing.
Francis says I cut out the scariest scene in the script, which was the boys. Everyone's on the bus, and they hear their head coach, not Tom, but Tom, they hear the head coach calling for help. He dropped me, and I'm hurt out here, and they have this huge discussion about who's going to go across the field and help the coach. And a small faction of them get off the bus to go help, and then we roll over. You see the coach under the moonlight going like this, "Help, I'm hurt," and then you pull it back, and the creature has his hand up the coach, using him like a ventriloquist doll, doing the coach's voice and saying, "Help me, come over here and help me." And by the time they get too close, it's all over for them, and there's a chase back to the bus, but there's all this, and it gave the creeper another gift, the gift of ventriloquism.
Shower curtain. This thing's like a fucking piece of toilet paper.
We had to make some adjustments for the face opening, which I'm not a fan of in the second one because it was a shortcut. In the first one, we had 3 different stages where we had to shoot each one each day. So, okay, here's your 3 seconds of the creeper today where it goes like this, and here's your 3 seconds of the creeper today where it's like this, and these move. By 2, which was about, I don't know, 2-3 years later, technology had gotten better, but I didn't want to burn up 3 days, so they created a different kind of cowl that opened up. I call it the Scarlet O'Hara. And you know what? That's, of course, those are the pictures that appeared on the cover of Fangoria and some other ones. The ones MGM promised me would never be published because I said, he looks like Scarlet O'Hara, okay, with a big red bonnet on him, which was not the thingy-dingy. We shot it and lit it differently, but it doesn't open up in the good old-fashioned way. In that first one where his face opens up and he lets out that pig squeal, it's just so powerful. We couldn't get back there for the second one, so we made some special makeup effects changes for that, mostly for time.
You can smell something in people, in their fear, something that helps it pick people out.
Pick people out for what? I don't understand how you would know that, sweetie.
A dead boy told me.
Minxie has her first dream on the bus, and she's on the Taggart farm, and everything's happening backwards behind her while Justin comes out of the cornfield up to her. And the reason that I love this is one of the things I learned in high school, when you have no money for visual effects and you're shooting in Super 8, where if you shoot upside down, then when the film gets processed, it's right side up, but everything's going to be in reverse. So I told Donnie this. I said, we're going to shoot this whole shot upside down so that, and we're going to make Minxie act backwards, and everyone else, you know, the boy chases a dog in the background, etc. I'm very proud of that moment because that is a total high school popsicle stick special effects moment, only it's in anamorphic where, how did they do that? She's forward, but he's back. It's not a digital effect or anything. It's just one of those good old-fashioned $1.98 special effects that you learn to do when you're a kid.
Every 23rd spring for 23 days it gets to eat.
I have written a Jeepers 3 that actually is Jeepers 1.2, and that is that it happens in the 3 days between Jeepers 1 and Jeepers 2. And it is absolutely the most interesting Jeepers 1 we've seen, and it's got some terrifying set pieces in it, but it's a great drama, and there's a young girl at the center of it, and the creeper moving his way toward the north, wherever he disappears at the end of his 23 days. It's the havoc that he wreaks on this small farming community in the 2 days between the school bus and flying away with Justin out of the police station. And